It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
But we're going to jump into the Umbrella Academy Season 2 review.
Yeah.
Now, we will let you know when there are spoilers here, so you can jump ahead. Or if you haven't watched it, you should stop right now. Go watch Season 1 and 2 if you've not, and watch it, because this is, this is a show that's going to go down in history as probably one of Netflix's one of better shows, original shows.
It's great. I think the show is so effective that this thing can really kind of push back that 3-season limit that Netflix has self-imposed all of these shows. So obviously, I think has it been officially confirmed for a third season?
No. So that's the other thing. Umbrella Academy has not been confirmed for a third season yet, but
they would be fools. They would be absolute fools if we did not get a third season of this show.
Exactly. And The Boys just got a third season renewal before the season 2 even dropped, and I think that's its biggest competitor at this point. Amazon's comic book adaptation that's not technically a Marvel or DC thing versus Netflix. So I agree. I think they should 100% announce it sooner than later and get to work on it. But that's going to bring us to some of the stuff. So season 2 review. Our hands are out in the open here. We can't bluff anymore, Mike. It sounds like we both thoroughly enjoyed season 2 of the Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah, it's great. I just love how every character in the Umbrella Academy, 1 through 7, right? There's 7 of. I was always like taking count on screen. I was like counting on my hands. I was like, okay, who haven't we seen yet? Who's missing right now? But every character has like grown and developed and just become like hot, as Klaus would say in one of the episodes. Wow, what did he say? Did we all get hot? Did we all get sexy?
Yeah.
So they all
it's
did.
Glow up.
Yeah, in every facet. I think my favorite thing, non-spoilery, is that number 1 got kind of goofy and wacky, and usually I kind of don't like that in TV shows, but it really worked for his character. He kind of became the comic relief in a lot of the scenes that he was in, which is just great because he's such like a big lug, and he was so serious in the first season that it just really worked for me. So everything about this season was great.
Well, I'm going to tell you there's 2 things I really enjoy, and you bring up one that ties into your here, that every character truly stands out on their own. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no really overlap in characters or arcs. Like, they're all very, very unique. And there are standouts. Like, again, to me, much like season 1, number 5 and Klaus really standout characters in this ensemble cast. What I also enjoy is that they reduce the runtime of every episode by like 10 minutes compared to like a normal thing. So binging this show, and I'm not a huge fan of binging, felt really, really good because there's no filler episodes, there's no slowdown. It starts fast and it does not stop until the end. Mm-hmm. And that is, a sign of, like, if you can't put down a show and you like, what's another 40 minutes? That's a sign that I'm really involved in this and really invested in this show. And I don't. It's hard to say without spoilers because this is such a good show that I want to talk about these details, but I don't want to do it without ruining it for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should jump into spoilers right now. Talk about all the nitty gritty things that we loved in season 2, and then obviously check the time codes if you haven't finished season 2 yet. Jump to our next topic where we're going to be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So let's jump into it. This is the spoiler free zone, or not spoiler free, spoiler filled, spoiler included zone.
So, first and foremost, before I forget, the end of this sets up the Sparrow Academy.
Yeah.
Which is the recently announced 4th volume of the comic book, which is not written yet.
Yeah, and I have to thank you. The only reason I even knew about it, because you brought it up to me the other week when we were talking, that there is a new book coming out, and Sparrow Academy was thrown in there. I had no idea what it was. So when that's kind of tagged into the very last scene of this season, I was just like, oh, Chris told me about that. Okay.
Yeah, and a fun fact is there are actually 43 sparrows hidden throughout season 2.
Oh, really?
Yep, and all in the episodes, 43.
Oh,
so,
like the animal, like the bird, the sparrow.
yeah, the birds. Yes.
Okay.
So sorry. Well, I think there's also maybe a few icons as well, but mostly the birds. So they're teasing this because in this show, season 1 ends. They jump back in time. They don't tell us where they're going. We'll come to find out they're in 1963, a week before JFK gets shot, and all the siblings came back at different time in the same alleyway, but in different years. So some have been there, 3 years? I think Klaus has been there the longest at 3 years, and then there's Allison and Luther and Diego and Vanya and Fives, and then Ben, of course, the ghost, came back with Klaus. And I will tell you, I really enjoyed Diego's arc in this season more than last one, because I think we talked last week. Like, you're like, who's Diego and what does he do? Well, this season he definitely is like one of the main characters. Kind of pushing. I think Luther maybe took the hit a little bit, being the muscle. He kind of had the least amount, I would say, development. But Diego was my favorite character throughout the whole season. Klaus is always an enjoyment to see him kind of manipulating and moving through kind of the 1960s with his cult. But yeah, I was really digging Diego. His whole look kind of improved too. Like, he had that like long hair and the goatee, and like I was really feeling the vibe of everything that he was doing. I love the banter where Five finds him in the nut house and just decides to leave him there, because you forget that like Five is the most pragmatic of the Umbrella Academy. Like, he'll do whatever he needs to do to get the job done. So he's just like, yeah, it makes sense to leave my brother in this insane asylum because like he can't escape, and it'll let me do what I need to do. Yeah, and it's like one of the things, like, he's got, like, what do you say? He's like, you're Batman, but not as cool kind of thing is what he called him early on, which was a pretty fun jab at him. And he's got that hero complex. The whole point of him, he wants to save. His goal is to save JFK in this timeline, and you find out that the handler from the last season, who got shot in the head, actually lived, and it comes to be the bad guy. And I think that the inclusion of her makes me, I think, hurt a couple things. First and foremost, I would have loved to see more agency agents, if you will, the time agents, and also the fish guy. The fishbowl guy. I thought that was a really cool effect, and the fact that he smoked through his suit in the fishbowl. I'm like, I wish he would have been the bad guy. But I mean, and then the introduction of what's her name? I can't think of his Diego's girlfriend.
Yeah, I can't quite think of her name off the top of my head either. The daughter of the handler.
The daughter of the handler, who comes to find out is actually one of the people born on October 1st. One of the like the Hargreaves. She has abilities, the ability to copy abilities.
Yeah, I said the same thing when we talked about the first season of the show, and I think I even brought it up again the last week after we kind of talked about our initial impressions after watching episode 1, which is, on paper, none of this stuff makes any sense. No one would ever think that this would work in a TV show. Like, bam, we got time travel, we got superheroes, we got all of this other stuff going on too.
Very niche abilities.
Yeah, and not only did they lean into the time travel for this one, literally making it a period piece, they also added in, I can't believe it because I don't read the comic books, I didn't know this was coming, their dad's a freaking alien. I mean, it was just like, it was wow, it was a surprise. Who knows, maybe he could be a mutant, he could be literally anything else. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be.
He's an alien in the comic books, and they kind of set it up at the end of last season. With the Firefly jar that set out and like supposedly made all the people have the babies.
But we never really know the origin of it. And also in season 1, we are kind of hinted that he's been living longer than a normal human could, so you knew something was going on there. But it's just like, oh my god, this show will do anything, go anywhere, and nothing's off limits, and it's just surprising that they can really make it work. I think the only kind of things that I would kind of ding the show on are some things that I need a little bit more explanation for, and maybe this is just with dealing with time travel where things get a little bit confusing. They need this briefcase, right? They need these briefcases in order to travel where they need to go. But Five has this ability to open portals to time travel, and we see this happen when Five is fighting his older version of himself, which is absolutely hilarious because they have that time paradox symptoms.
Yeah, the paradox disease where they start going crazy and angry.
Yeah. Which is great and hilarious. So once they kind of get to the point where he convinces his older self to go back to 2019, they open up this portal, and I'm just thinking, well, can't 5 just open up a portal and take all of his family with him? Isn't that just the best way to get out of 2019? But then I was thinking, oh, maybe 5 is the only one that's allowed to go through these portals. Maybe they need the briefcase to do like multiple travels with people, right? I mean, I wasn't too sure what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't think about it's like Avengers time travel. If you don't think about it, it works. Kind of thing. Like, you don't want to break it down because maybe he could jump forward, but maybe that doesn't stop the apocalypse from coming, and they would just all be together in an apocalypse in the future rather than
And then when 5 makes the deal with the handler, like, oh, if you kill the board, I'll give you a briefcase. I'll send you back to 2019, and we'll make sure the apocalypse never happens. Well, they never really state how they're going to reverse the apocalypse. I guess you just kind of assume that the handler and this time agency has the ability to undo it. But I would think probably what happens is they weren't going to undo the apocalypse. The handler was just trying to get 5 out of the picture in reality. Yeah. But I thought maybe there was one too many secret organizations because you had the board members that they specifically said nobody knows who they are. They meet at a very mysterious time in a very mysterious location, and they control all of the goings-on of this very secret time organization that lords over everything. And then also you have this secret crew of people that the father from the Umbrella Academy is part of, and they're pulling strings just, in America and in world politics. So you kind of have like these two mysterious organizations, and it's just like we don't really learn that much about either of them, and one of them is dispatched very quickly.
Well, the other one is they both are. Because the alien version of
yeah, that's right. Well, we are aware of that organization for a couple episodes before they're all killed. So, I'm not saying that's necessarily a huge negative, but it would have been cool to maybe explore those groups a little bit more. But I mean, overall, I was just legitimately entertained every single episode. It's just a great thrill ride. You're kind of connecting the pieces of the past in your head of just like, oh yeah, what happened history-wise in the 1960s? What's going on here? Okay, they're in Dallas. What's going on up in the Umbrella Academy? I thought it was cool that we got to see number 1 take a bus back to New York to go watch his father basically entertaining people, having a party in the old Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what I really enjoy, again about it is, like you said, they don't go anywhere. All the characters have something kind of going on, but at the same time, like, the Vanya thing, like her doing the apocalypse again, kind of treading some stuff. I'm glad she was able to learn her abilities, but I'm like, why does she always have to be the one that causes the apocalypse, kind of thing? Even though she didn't blow up the world, she just caused, the U.S. and Russia to have nuclear war a little earlier. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, with that, it just it was a very clean cut. Hopefully maybe the ability for people, like, how did Vanya give someone else her powers? If that was rather convenient for the the child.
And it looks like the whole power giving situation was not totally undone. The kid still seems to have some sort of power kind of leaning. So I guess that could have affected the future.
He could be in it.
One thing that I'm happy to see is the time traveling bits are great. They're very entertaining. They're so fun. I like to see how they play with time. But it does seem that season 3 is set up to do something different. It seems like we're going to stay in our own timeline. They have been messing with time for the last 2 seasons. So I feel like the characters are really going to feel the weight of we can't always be going back in time to fix things. Like more than likely we're going to mess things up. So we're going to have to stay in 2019. We're going to have to deal with what we've wrought back in the 60s, and we're just going to have to push forward and I guess figure out what the hell the Sparrow Academy is.
Right. Well, it's an alternate universe. Apparently these are not the regular Umbrella Academies. Their dad's alive. Mm-hmm. And Ben is also alive, looking very, very straight out of My Chemical Romance as well, with these shadow disclosed people. Which is going to be interesting. I really liked that they were able... There's a lot of callbacks to season 1 in this. Again, Luther eating all the food every time. Like, he wasn't fighting, he was just eating. What was cool... Again, Lila was the name of that character. I had to look it up. Diego's girlfriend, who is also one of these... not really a Hargreaves sibling, but, like, one of the people with the powers. But, like, the fact that she was using her copycat ability early on... and we just didn't realize it. Like when she was fighting Diego, she was using his ability against the people shooting at them in the hallways.
Yeah, and that was a nice little twist when she was fighting those cops in the basement. Because when I first saw it, I was just like, okay, come on, that's a stretch. Just because you quote unquote your mom taught you how to fight, you're not just going to be able to dismantle disarm a guy with a gun. But then later you figure out, because she's basically a super powered person too. Yeah, that'd be super easy for her to do.
And then she was fighting Five in the warehouse when he was trying to get to the handler before she made the deal with him. She was using his ability to teleport around. That's why when he teleported, she wasn't there anymore. But they never showed us. They showed us off screen, which was cool for those secrets. I mean, I think there's a couple things a little on the nose. What's her name? The sis Allison. She thankfully got her voice back after several years. But being kind of on the nose of the political protests, I thought that's very timely with our world. I don't think they planned that because they filmed this last year. But I was like, this is. I didn't feel like they got anywhere with that story other than the fact her husband just didn't trust her at the end.
I was kind of expecting, since none of these characters are perfect and on some levels they're all a little bit selfish, I thought maybe she would have left her husband like a little note just to kind of give the African American community in America like a fighting edge. Like maybe she would have wrote down maybe something that's going to happen in history that they can look out for. So like maybe theoretically when they make it back to 2019, the civil rights movement has progressed even further than it normally would have. That would have been kind of cool to give a little bit of an edge there.
And we could find that in the next season if they decide to unveil that a little bit more. But also, I think her and Luther used their powers the least of everyone in this season, which is, I know she has reservations against it, but I felt it was kind of, what good can she do if no one can hear her? I feel bad. And then the loss of Ghost Ben, who could possess people this season, which was really fun to see him doing that in Klaus's body.
Yeah, the Ghost Bin situation, it seems like it's definitely going to tie into the third season because they never showed us the other members of the Sparrow Academy because they're all in shadow. But Ben specifically says, hey, who the hell are these people?
Yeah, he is the one in there.
So it seems like they're not familiar to him. So I'm guessing that the other members of the Sparrow Academy up on that catwalk aren't the same cast members. It's not like they're going to have like evil twins, right, in 2019.
Right.
So
probably
I'm guessing
some other kid, because there were 43 kids born, right? So he probably got other ones instead.
Yeah. So maybe the father specifically decided to do the same plan of I'm going to get these super powered people, but I'm going to go out of my way to avoid the people that visited me in the 60s, and I'm going to pick different people. And since he never met Ben, he never saw him, that's why Ben is still part of the group, because he didn't know to avoid that character. So that'll be cool. I like the idea of like adding more superpowered people there. I'm assuming they're all going to have different unique abilities, and it's nice to have the father around because you need a foil. You need like a villain, and the father is a really good villain because he's just such a piece of shit. He doesn't care about anybody or anything, and even we see some flashbacks of who's the funeral? Is that number 7? Is that Ben? I think he's number 7's Vanya. Maybe he's 6.
I think he's 6 because he's right before.
Yeah. But when he died and they're having his funeral and they're all around his casket, like even the father's being a dick there. He's just like, you should have done better and he wouldn't have died. So it seems like he's going to be the real foil in season 3 that they have to work against with their daddy issues and everything. And it was cool. The one last thing I'll say, I liked how things ramped up in the last 2 episodes because I thought the big conclusion was going to be around JFK and his possible or not assassination, what's going to happen there. And then that kind of wraps up and ends, and I'm just like, oh, what are they going to do in the second episode? And then they have this huge wave of these people with briefcases all across the lawn, and then they all die, and then they're just like, oh, we need a briefcase, and they're like, well, pick whatever one you want. Everyone's dead around me. So yeah, it's just a great conclusion. I loved everything about the season. I feel like I could sit and talk about this for like another hour, so I don't want to belabor it too much longer. But man, if you have Netflix and you're not watching Umbrella Academy, you're making a huge mistake.
I don't have Netflix and I watched Umbrella Academy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am excited to see the next season and kind of see what it is. And I also, again, I think, just to touch on that last battle, showing Diego's abilities are actually bending things, like physics is actually his ability in the comic books.
Yeah,
and to show that was a fun reveal.
Yeah, that was very confusing at first. I was like, wait a minute, he stops bullets, and then when I thought about it, it's like, oh, I guess he kind of just more has like command over projectiles in general. So
yeah, because that's how he does his knife thing.
But bullets would be in that wheelhouse. So that is kind of jarring if you don't kind of think about it in a broader sense past knives.
And that's the only thing he can't do in the TV show that he does in the comic books is he can hold his breath indefinitely as well.
Oh, okay.
And that's why his name is the Kraken in the comic books. But this was a great time. I had a really good time, binging it and watching it. And I will tell you, the thing I saw before it actually was the intro where Fives jumps back to 63, and that intro where they show all the siblings using all their powers against Russia. I was really hoping to see something like that against the briefcase people.
Oh, gotcha.
Because rather than Vanya just wiping them all out, I was like, man, I really want to see them all just go all out, like a true, force of nature, like the true Umbrella Academy. So, very, very good show. I'd recommend that highly.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.